Am I on? I can hear myself. Man, it's going to be hard to follow him. Okay, let's see. I've picked a topic called My Healing Journey. And it's after I picked it and started going through it, I could take this a couple different ways. I have had lots of healings, but I've also studied healing. And this one here, I'm more focused on studying healing. And one of the, Kitty and I have, we met here at this church teaching a Reiki class together. So that was back in the early 70s when we met. I have written this talk at least 4 times on paper, and every last time it's been different. And then I wake up every morning and I have a whole new talk. And so this has got to be one of the most difficult talks that I've ever put together. Okay, healings can happen. I have a short little video that I want to show you of a healing. If you'd play it, Jackie. So this person has a tumor in the stomach area. And we have Shaolin monks who are working. And you can see the tumor there.
法器，各位老师，咱们一块用你那法器。
So this side here will be before, and this is as they work on it. So can healings happen? Yes. Can they happen for you? Yes. It's very important. So I started here early 70s. I've probably been coming to this church for about 55 years. Some of you haven't been around that long. It's true. So I first started here, just like Susan, I came here for Thursday nights. And we used to have the Thursday night healings and, well, it was psychic readings, but we had them downstairs instead of up here. And each of the readers would have a booth along the sides, and you get your ticket to go see a reader, and you'd sit and wait, and you'd wait. But they also had a healing room in the back, so the meditation room downstairs used to be the healing room. And so you'd have 4 rows of chairs sitting back there, and you could go in there and sit and wait for, get a healing while you're waiting for your number to come up. And so I would go in there and experience this healing. And it was hands-on, and there'd be 2 sets of healers, and you'd wait your turn, and you go up there, and it felt really good. I loved the feeling. And so eventually, I started coming just to go to the healing room. And then I started coming early so I could sit in the front row, so I could be in that field. And then I started sending energy to the person who was being healed. And eventually, the healer says, we can feel what you're doing. You can come up here and sit with us. And so I came up there and I started healing, being a conduit for this healing energies that can flow through you. And so that's how I started my healing journey here. So that was, I could say, 55 so years ago. And it was such an experience to be able to sit with these other healers, and they give you little pointers. I remember Dee Peterson telling me, well, sometimes you can kind of pull out whatever's stuck in there, just kind of move your hands like that and pull it out. And so I started doing that. It's been quite a few years coming up here to sit in the healing room. We had, I'll talk about that a little bit. As I sat in the room, I eventually had some healing guides who made themselves known to me. And the picture of one of them is in the back there, Tall Pine. And so he was one of the healing guides. And when I first started, I didn't want to know anything about what was going on with the person. And so they would put a spot on the person, and I would put my hand on that spot. And so that's how I healed did a long time. I would just put my hands wherever they put it was a little round, kind of like a sticky, a little round sticky that they'd put on the person. I put my hand there, and then when they're out to go away, then move it to the next spot. And I did that for quite a few years. And then eventually I became more comfortable with it. It was, okay, you can show me some of the stuff that's happening. And so then they started showing me some of the things that were happening with a person and where to place my hands. I still ask them for help and guidance, and they still show me where to put my hands to get the flow of energy going for that particular person. So again, I started out really gradual, just learning how to do it. One time we had a lady who, she was scheduled for surgery. She had a tumor inside of her throat, and it was attached. And so the doctors had scheduled like a 3 to 4 hour surgery because it was going to be fairly complex, fairly complicated. And before the surgery, she comes into the healing room here, and we work with her. And so then she goes in for the surgery. The doctors are astonished. The tumor has totally separated from where it was attached and just had to be nipped at the one end of it to take it out. So it was like 45 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes for her surgery. So it's remarkable, some of the things that you get to be part of, to see. I could say I had so many thoughts what I should be covering. So anytime I go into the healing room, one of the first things I do is I ask to be a clear conduit for this healing energies that come through. In all of the different healing modalities, and we have studied so many. When I met Kitty, we started on this journey of going through all of the different healing modalities that had verifiable healings that happened fairly quickly. And so we've studied probably 10, 15 different methods that we've gone through to learn the different methods and to see what we could learn from them. When I first started here, this church was a spiritualist church. It was associated with a spiritualist organization out of the East Coast. And eventually it got converted to, well, it separated. It didn't convert, it just separated. It became its own thing, and now you are part of what this organization is. They're spiritual. We're spiritual. We're not part of a religious corporate structure. You are here as spiritual beings, enjoying each other's company and being in this field that each of you creates. A while back, we got to be volunteers for an organization called ISEAM, and Bruce Lipton was one of the speakers at it. And he's a delightful gentleman. He talked about how the cells have this identity associated with you as a person, and it's kind of like they have a little antenna, and you're constantly signaling to these cells, you're part of me, and reaffirming that it is part of you. And and he talked about how you can change your DNA, and he was soundly put down by the medical profession for some of the things that he came up with. Today, they're coming around and saying, oh yeah, that's true. But back then, no, not so much. So he talked about how the body is actually a quantum device. I mean, this is back in the early 2000s we saw him. And he's talking about your body is a quantum device. You go through entanglements. The cells talk to each other at a quantum level. Doctors still don't understand how this works. So quantum level, what happens at the quantum level? So your body, one of the things you're composed of is photons. And photons, you probably all know, they're here and then they're gone. They're constantly flickering in and out of, flickering in and out of existence. So you're made of them. Are you here all the time? You're not. You're constantly flickering off and on. How come when you flicker off and then you come back, you look like you still do? I mean, why? What is the constant that you have that brings you back into the same form, in the same owies that you still have? The same hurts, the same, what brings you back so that you still have this constant? I mean, your body itself, it is replaced every 7 years, totally replaced. Every cell in your body, the bones, the blood, everything in your body is completely replaced every 7 years. Why is it being replaced in the pattern that you currently have? It's your thoughts. It's your thoughts. And as we went through the different healing modalities, we found out that they work on your thoughts. If they can remove a thought that is hindering you in some way, you have a healing. And it can be a spontaneous healing. You flash out, you flash back, and you don't have that thought anymore, and all of a sudden, you had this miracle. That's pretty cool. So we live here in this country where we're scientific. And we have doctors who are scientific. Did anybody notice that they have a practice? Why do doctors have a practice? Yeah, science. So anyway, one of the problems you have is you go to a doctor and the doctor says, you have, in great big capital letters, this. And you say, oh, I have this. And you pull it into yourself and say, oh, it's mine. I have this. Did you know I have this? oh, this is what it does. And you pull in this, you tap into this gigantic field of this, and you pull it into yourself. You are basically flashing in and out. You're part of what they call this quantum foam, and you're reaching into this energy field and you're pulling it into yourself. I have this. This is mine. My mom used to do that all the time. She got to talk to her friends about she had this. Yeah, it was special. So diagnosis, as soon as you accept a diagnosis, you have tapped into that field. You're bringing it into yourself. So it's fine that they're going to say, but don't accept. You don't have to, because you can accept a healing too. This, it's just an energy. It could just be a thought that's passing past you, through you. Don't hang on to it. Just let it go. It's kind of like if there's a dog walking across the street. It's just a dog walking across the street. But you go over to the dog and you bring it home with you. And now that dog is yours, and you give it a name. Ooh, nice puppy. Fred. My dog is called Fred. So now you have Fred. You've taken this into you. So just let Fred go walking down the street. You don't need Fred. You don't have to go over there and pet the dog and feed it. No. Just let it go. Okay, let's see. Other types of healing. So one of the modalities we studied was sound and the Himalayan singing bowls. I love Himalayan singing bowls. Authentic singing bowl has 7 different metals. When you ring it or play it, it has all these different frequencies that as the metals play with each other. We can put bowls around a person. Well, before we play them, we can have the bowls. We set them all out. I have the guides help me pick them. We play them. They sound beautiful. We put them on the person and around the person, and they sound like crap. The person's out of harmony, out of tune with the universe, with themselves. And then we play the bowls. And when the bowls finally come into harmony, the person's come into harmony. Sometimes it doesn't happen the first time. So we play the bowls, and then they have a healing. We have no clue what's going to happen. We had one lady who requested us to work with her. She had a mastoid in her head that she was scheduled for surgery for. She had an MRI showing it. The doctors were prepared, and she says, wait, I want you to come over and do this singing bowls with us. And so we did them with her, 4 sessions. And after the 4th session, she had another MRI, and they canceled the surgery. It was gone. So bringing yourself into harmony with these energies in the universe. Let's see. Another healing that I got to be part of was a gentleman who he was having stomach problems, real bad stomach problems. Always in knots. Had difficulty with all the stomach processes, eating, weight, you name it. He had problems with it. And so at that point in time, I was doing hypnosis. And so I took him back to the beginning of the problem. Turns out he was over in London when Germany was bombing, and he was just a little kid, and his stomach was uptight. And we took him back to that point in time, and he was able to be with that kid as himself at that point in time and acknowledge that as a kid, it was traumatic, but he could let it go now. So this is a thought that he's been hanging on to for years. mean, he was older when I got to meet him. And as soon as that thought, he forgave the child for being so upset and comforted him and himself. And let that thought go, and he no longer had the problem. Okay, let's see. So one of the healers that we studied, and that was just by accident, was Bruno Groening. And we had a group from Germany who came over here to introduce us to him. And so we had Kitty was the pastor at that time, and I was the president. And so we opened the church. We had to sit through it and listen to their talk. And that's kind of how we found out about this group and about this guy who was quite an amazing healer. So he talked about a divine healing stream. Oh. Yeah, could you turn that on? Okay, so some people talk about how in this quantum flux that we're part of, we have these energies that are coming into us constantly. And our thoughts are holding us in this form that we have chosen here. Could I just have you go to the next one? Thank you. So Bruno Groening talked about how we always have this healing energy coming down around us. It's always flowing to us and around us. And if we're open to it, it'll help heal us. It'll help us in many other ways besides that. He talked about how your thoughts are like, if you're upset about something, if you're complaining about something, if you're really into this disease, that it's like putting up an umbrella and you block this flow of energy going through you. So I have had so many healings just learning this technique. I mean, really, really simple. That's one of the things I love about Bruno Groening's technique. It was listen to loud classical music, sitting straight, hold your hands out like you're going to receive a gift, and allow yourself to be tuned to this healing energy. He says you're like a radio, and that you tune yourself to the different frequencies. So there's all these thoughts that are going out there in the world, and you can tune yourself to any of them. And it could be tragedies, could be wars, could be, how about a smile? Everybody felt pretty good with that? Yes. Okay, so tuning yourself to this healing energy to let it go through you. So 5 minutes twice a day makes a huge difference. I've had some tremendous healings. I had surgery on both of my knees. We were looking, after surgery, I still had all kinds of problems. I could walk, but my knees hurt terribly. And when glucose meeting came out, I was living on that. I was living on ibuprofen. If we were to go out dancing, I would take extra ibuprofen that day before we went. And then the next day, I knew I was going to be hurting. So just tuning myself to this healing energy, my knees got healed. So try this if you have knees problems. I don't use knee pads anymore. I just, it's fine. So we went to the Body Mind Healing Expo. We had a booth for Bruno Groening, and I was showing people how to tune themselves to this healing energy. And I was doing that for about 3 hours. And then they had this booth where you could get a full body aura picture. I went, I like this. So if you could show the next one. Oh, I forgot this one. These are people who have been practicing what Bruno Groening taught for years. They're doing a play here, and you can actually see the energy flowing off of them from being tuned to this energy. The director there is not part of the group. Okay, now the next one. Okay, so this is what I expected to see. I was excited. I wanted to see all these different colors. I've been tuning myself for a good 3 hours, and this is what I saw. I was so disappointed. This is after doing the Einstellung. Einstellung was what Bruno Groening called tuning yourself to God's divine healing energy. So I got that picture. I guess it's pretty good. Okay.
What did it say?
Oh, it's just my aura image.
Well, why were you disappointed?
Because it didn't have all the different colors. I was, yeah, I was looking for the reds and the blues and the oranges, and I got this. So this could happen to you while you're tuning yourself. Let's see. So there's another group that we also started. We met a lady who had gone to India, who had studied with some gurus over there. And so we invited her to come to the church. And she started doing a hands-on diksha. It's a hands-on blessing. And the blessing actually is to help change your physical brain structure so that you can be tuned to God's divine energies. And it does make a big difference. I'll show you that in a bit. So one of the things they teach us is that anytime you're in a suffering, you're in the I. I am suffering. I'm having problems with this. Nobody likes me. I'm. So it's all I'm-centric. And they talk about how there's only two states. The brain can only be in a beautiful state or in a suffering state. You only have two states. And there's a scientist over in Japan who's studied the brain and come up with, yeah, you only have two states. It's kind of like you're yes or no. You're positive or you're negative. You're happy or you're not so happy. And you get into loops. You have all these different thoughts that come in, and you can get stuck in it. I'm. And so they help teach you how to break this. And so there's one method, one meditation that they teach called Serene Mind. You can find it on YouTube, Serene Mind. And it's just 3 minutes long. You take your couple of deep breaths. You go into the emotion that you're experiencing. And then you bring a light, like a little candle, into the center of your head. And then you allow it to go. And that helps break this loop that you've been stuck in. And if it keeps coming back, you keep doing it until you've broken the loop. But one of the things they teach is become aware of your thoughts and where they're going. Become aware of them. Kind of like this bird, big bird sitting up in the tree, and you're watching this little bird in the tree as it bounces from branch to branch, and you go, oh, that's what that thought is. I don't need that. Or, you know. So, quick little story. There's a gentleman who's got a house. He's walking down the street. He sees his house in the distance, gets closer, and he sees it's on fire. And he's just terribly distraught, so distraught, he just stands there. He's so into suffering. And his neighbors are over there throwing water at the house, and they got the hoses out there trying to put it out. And then his son comes along and says, Father, we just sold your house this morning. And he takes a deep breath, and now he can go over and he can help put out the house. Okay, so suffering is optional. There's problems and there's suffering. Problems you can solve. They don't need the suffering. So problems you fix. Or you can't fix it, and it's still a problem, but you can't fix it. There's no need to suffer. Okay, so Kitty and I have been taking aura pictures since we met. So we have 20-some years of aura pictures now. And it's kind of how we've been seeing how we've been doing. So if you could put up there's our before. And now if you put up the after, okay? So does this work? You can spend a little bit of time practicing, tuning yourself to this divine light, releasing those thoughts that aren't serving you, because they sure aren't. I mean, you got them from your folks, you got them from generations. You can give them away. But anyway, we've just been keeping track of how things are going. So it's time to choose the frequency that you're going to be tuned to. It's time to choose not tragedies, but happiness. I love the song, Being Happy. So tune yourself to the divine. We're all here to be spiritually tuned to the divine. And you're on the radio. So it's time to change your station.